All right. Well, first of all, welcome aboard. It is September the 28th of the wonderful year 2023, and you are here for Thursday Thoughts. And tonight we're talking technology. That's what we're talking. We're talking technology. So, for those of you who don't know, my name is Sarah Evanson Atkinson, and I am the Professional Learning Director for SCAMLE. In my real life, I serve as the instructional coach at in Greenville County Schools at Ralph Chandler Middle School. Been doing that for, gosh, I think this is our ninth year. Oh my gosh, I'm still standing. I am an ELA teacher for more than 20 years, and just like you, I wear many hats: wife, mom, friend. I do it all, right? I drive carpool, and I do all the things, and so we get it. SCAMLE gets it. And we want to be sure that we're providing you high quality, pertinent, relevant professional learning from the comfort of your sofa. So I'm going to get you back to Netflix right at 7 o'clock tonight, I promise. But in the meantime, for our hour together tonight, I want to just remind you of a couple of things. Please be sure that you are applying to present or to attend the the state conference for SCAMLE in March. All of that is available at www.scamle.org. There's also a ton of really great resources there. And of course, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I pop on there sometimes just to talk to you all because I get bored. All right. So our executive director is actually not on tonight. He has a speaking engagement at one of his former schools where he was principal. It's their 50th anniversary evening, and they're having a really great celebration. So he is speaking at that engagement. But our executive director is Dr. David McDonald, and you're not allowed to make fun of this photograph, which was taken some time ago. Our board president, unfortunately, is also detained elsewhere, but he is Jeff Jenkins, and he's currently the principal at Ralph Chandler Middle School in Greenville County Schools. All right, so to kick us off tonight, I first want to say, before I introduce my first friend here, technology is this ever-changing beast. And I'm just a lowly teacher who, now that I'm really going to date myself, ready, here it comes. On my first teaching gig, I went to the library and I asked the media specialist, the librarian, I said, "Do you have a TVator back there?" And she brought this little black box out from the back of the media center, and she blew off the dust, and she said, "I don't know what you want to use this for." And I had learned about it in college. Again, I know I'm dating myself, and I brought it back to my classroom. And at that point, we had those big giant TVs that if they fell off the wall, they would kill you. And of course, mine was suspended precariously right over the top of my desk. And so I hooked up that TVator and hooked it to my giant desktop computer, and I showed those PowerPoints on that TV like a pro. And those kids were mesmerized because their instruction was delivered on a television. And the only television that they knew about was the one at home where they were watching, TV. And so I'm just a lowly old teacher, but I'm lucky enough to have with us tonight a technology guru specialist. I know, big shoes to fill. I want to introduce Avis tonight to the conversation. So Miss Avis, where are you from? Where do you work? What are you about? Introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, thank you for that wonderful welcome. I am Avis Canty Duck, and I work with the Office of Instructional Technology with Greenville County School District. Before this role, I taught middle school special education for 13 years. So I was at Tanglewood Middle School for 13 years, and I taught all three grade levels, all subjects. I had about 12 preps a day. And I guess I kind of got started in this and the fact that I was always a guinea pig for technology. My principal really liked technology, so anytime he wanted to try something new, my class was just small enough to try it out. We could make all the mistakes and just kind of blew up from there that I was just the tech girl.
I love it.
I now serve 19 elementary schools, all of the northern elementary schools in Greenville County, as well as League Academy and the K-8 Sterling and Rudolph Gordon schools.
Awesome. Well, we are happy to have you and your tech plus ed brain. I mean, that's like, that is like a superpower as far as I'm concerned. And please know there were requests from our membership to make sure that we remember that some of our districts are not Google districts. So all of our information that will be presented tonight, we are cognizant of that. We are thoughtful about that. And so you aren't going to see a ton of here's a cool trick in the Google Drive, because not every school district is a Google district. So just remember that we're listening. We got it. All right, so I'm going to share with you this video of some quick tips, and then I'm going to ask you to light up the chat for me. Here we go.
In this video, we're going to take a look at 3 teacher technology tools that you can use in the classroom right now. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Mr. Cook's Corner, Education for Educators. This channel is all about helping teachers like you grow in your craft. If it's your first time watching, welcome aboard. Please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell if you like what you see today. Okay, let's hop right to it. 3 teacher technology tools that you can use in your classroom right now. Our first teacher tool that we're going to take a look at is onlinestopwatch.com. It's one of the easiest teacher tools that you're going to find out here. When you first click on the website, you'll have a choice between stopwatch and countdown. And although it's nice to count up using a typical stopwatch, we find that the countdown is what you're really looking for. If you just use the primary version on the main page, you're going to just see a basic number set where you type in the time, you hit set, and off you go. If you're going to use this to project full screen to your students, there's a button right underneath it to hit full screen. And then from there, you do the same thing. You click countdown, set your timer, and off you go. However, beyond the basic countdown timer, there are so many more available to you. We have race timers. I just set the time as before. And then when I hit start, you've got swimmers in a race. There's also holiday themed timers. So this is a Valentine's Day ring reveal timer, and as it gets closer to 0, the box slowly opens, and when it hits 0, it will be fully open. It'll be a ring presented. But perhaps my favorite set of timers are the sensory themed timers. These just help students relax. You've got liquid egg timers, flowing goo, lava lamps, colored circles, just basic, easy things that keep people relaxed and keep your students on task. If I'm being fair, the one downside is that there are lots of ads splayed all over the place, but you can simply click them out with an X. However, if you do the full screen, you'll notice that it's much less intrusive than when you just do the small version of it. So check out onlinestopwatch.com. The next online teacher tool I want to show you is Bouncy Balls. It's a great way to manage classroom noise or visualize your music. As you can see here, we've got a set of bouncy balls ready to go. You can change them from plastic to emoji. You can use bubbles. You can use eyeballs. Let's just stick with the emoji ones for right now. And what happens is you speak in the classroom. So you turn on your microphone, and as students get too loud, the balls bounce to a certain level, and then you're warned to be quiet. So let me turn on the microphone. And as you can see, they're moving around here. And when I start to get too loud, they bounce a little bit higher. You'll notice that it's not setting anything off though, because the sensitivity is set at a certain level. So I can tweak this to where now when I talk, you can see they're bouncing a lot higher. And now I've been warned that it's too noisy. Now, me just talking by myself, I wouldn't want that to set off the noise alarm. So you'll have to get a gauge with your students at them talking at the level that you want, and then you will adjust the sensitivity accordingly. You can also toggle on a noise alert to show a shush or a beep or no sound whatsoever. So whenever the students do get too loud, it will warn you. It's a really
cool tool.
Simple, easy to use website. You just type in bouncyballs.org and off you go. Highly recommended. This last teacher tool that I'd like to share is wheelofnames.com. Teachers, we know you've got lots of name generators out there. There are several you could find online. However, I wanted to highlight this one as my favorite because of the customization options that it has. For example, here we've got a class of 8 students. If I want to randomize the list, I just click on shuffle. You can see each time it's reordering the wheel. I can sort it alphabetically if I want to. I can even add an image. So if I want to go in and put a bunch of pictures on the wheel, the possibilities are endless with what you could use that for. But beyond that, you've got tons of options. You can customize the sound it makes while it's spinning. You can adjust how long it takes for the wheel to finish spinning. So if you want a 5-second spin, or you want a 1-second spin, you can set that up so it'll spin quickly or slowly. You can also customize things to happen after the spin is over, so you could have a pop-up message. This one says we have a winner. You could change that, or you can just remove it. You can have confetti launching when a winner is picked. Perhaps one of my favorite options is the ability to remove the student after they've been picked. So whenever you do a spin and someone is chosen, you can either close it or you can remove them from the list, and now they're down to 7. So that way you can go through your entire classroom list and everybody will get chosen. Perhaps most importantly though, you can also save your lists. You can create files. All you have to do is set up an account. You could do that through your Google account. It's free to do, but that way you can save your different lists of students and then you can just open them whenever you need them. So if you're doing a block 1 or a block 2 or a block 3, you can access them here. Wheel of Names is probably one of the best random name generators out there. Highly recommend you check it out. What are some of your favorite tools that you're using right now? Let us know in the comments. In the meantime, watch more videos, huh? See you next time at Mr. Cook's Corner. Bye.
All right. Well,
In this video, we're going to take a look at 3 teacher technology tools that you can...
Okay, there we go. All right. So just as Mr. Cook said, let's go ahead and open up the chat at this time. What is the coolest tip that you heard he talked about? We talked about stopwatch.com, bouncyballs.org, and wheelofnames.com. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to be reprogramming the space station with these websites. That is not at all. But here's the thing. Let's think about what's a cool tip that you just haven't thought about in a while. Sometimes we have so many cool tools at our fingertips that we forget some of the more basic ones that can really serve a great purpose. I personally loved the stopwatch countdown with the timers that had the goo and the movement, the visual, so the kids could see the time passing. And Mr. Cook says that that students stay on task if they see some visual timers, so I'll take it. Also in the chat, let's go ahead and think about a task that you'd like to be more productive with using technology. So what's a task that you would love to be able to be more productive with if only you had a technology for that? All right, so Jay Renwick says Wheel of Names. Yes, Wheel of Names, and I love the fact that you can set it to remove a name after they're already picked. Very, very cool. Dr. Marlowe says she liked the noise monitor. It's a visual, which is super powerful. And it's funny, I could use a noise monitor. We have Halloween coming up. Those eyeballs fit, they fit the theme, just saying. JR likes the stopwatch for sure. I love that. The stopwatch countdown is cool. We could use Wheel of Names in small groups to avoid some of that who's going to be in which group, or if we're picking a task, we could put task names on the wheel of names. It doesn't necessarily have to be student names. So that could be a fun way to get your kids engaged. TB Chesney says, love the timers. Absolutely. Shanice says the online stopwatch. Beth, same as me. She liked the Wheel of Names feature, especially since you can remove the names. Absolutely. Dr. Marlowe says she wants to use technology to manage her time better. Avis, what do you think about this? Can we use technology to manage our time better?
Absolutely. Anytime we have a visual that is front and center for our students, that will give them an opportunity to self-monitor and be able to gauge their time and complete their work in a timely manner or seek help before their time is up.
Absolutely. And it's funny, we think sometimes about like calendars are such a basic thing, but the actual task of keeping a digital calendar is a really exquisite skill to help students develop. Because I think that we say all the time, I want you to be able to manage your time better. I want you to be able to prioritize what's important and what's not, but that's a skill like anything else. We have to learn how to do it. Beverly said, likes the noise monitor. Could it be used in the cafeteria? For sure. That's pretty clever. Put that in the cafeteria, adjust that sensitivity level, and get them, Beverly, get them. JR says, could you use the noise monitor and the stopwatch together during group work? For sure. And the cool thing about that noise meter is that if it gets too loud, the noise meter will shush them for you. It will give them a warning, both visually, and it'll say, please be quiet, please lower your voices. So it actually speaks to the students. Pretty cool. Beth says she'd like to use timers with sensory themes to give a calming visual for my students. Yes. I agree. And I find myself using timers with the teachers a lot more too. I think that our lives are so fast and they're so full that if I know something's going to be over in 10 minutes, I'm much more likely to engage powerfully for those 10 minutes than I am if I'm not really sure when this whole thing's going to be over and how long this lady's going to, drone on. And so for me, using timers, I think, is good all around. I've seen tons of effective use of timers in classrooms for management and also to keep ourselves on pace so that we don't look up and suddenly we have 3 minutes left of class and we're halfway through our lesson. Shirley MacBell says noise tool would be great for monitoring voice projections for her theater students. Very, very cool. I love those ideas. Absolutely. And I love the notion of looking at technology as in a different way, looking at tech tools for a purpose other than maybe even other than which they were designed. Tech is constantly changing, and we're not going to be talking about AI tonight at all, actually. So you can take a deep breath on that one. But I do want to point out the fact that it's if we can use it in an innovative way, a low risk, low cost. I like free, but a low risk, low cost tool in a new and innovative way. I'm all for that. I wanted to share this little quick tip for you moving on is if you type in a YouTube address, so the regular YouTube address, copy and paste, but instead put a dash between the T and the U. When you do that, it will clean up that YouTube page. So it'll clean up the ads and it'll clean up all those video suggestions, all of the muck that's around your YouTube video to leave a comment or to join or follow. Take a look at this. All right, so I hope you noticed there, that it's clean, right? Clean, no nothing on that full screen view. So perfect if we need to embed some kind of a link for our students in Google Classroom or any other platform that you're using if you want them to look at something in particular. Also, I wanted to bring up magnifying your caption size. YouTube is kind of like a big conversation right now that's taking place because there's so much stuff on YouTube. I mean, guys, I have figured out I think I could probably do surgery if I just watch a few more YouTube videos. I think I could do it. And so like YouTube, everyone's on YouTube. And so a lot of times what we do to support our MLs and to support our learners who need a little bit extra literacy support, we'll add captions, we'll allow the captions to run on the YouTube. And so you can magnify your caption size right in YouTube. So take a look at those instructions and I'll give this to you in your email directly following this session as well. So you can be sure you don't miss a thing. So don't worry about that, but I just thought that was, cool tips. So when we think about technology and using technology in the classroom, if we think about it on a timeline, if we say to ourselves, okay, going into pre-COVID, everybody was talking about how to use technology, how to harness the power of technology. And we were hung up on the SAMR model and making sure there was balance. And we wanted to be sure that we were using the right tools for the right purposes in the right time. And then we went away to COVID and we went home and suddenly we didn't have the luxury of defining that balance anymore. It was all virtual. And so we went and did things and used technology in new and different and innovative ways. Well, coming out of COVID now, back to quote unquote normal or new normal, whatever you call it, now the whole landscape and the whole attitude toward technology has shifted dramatically. So in my school alone, I'll say we've shifted a lot back to paper, pencil, close the Chromebook, let's have movement, let's go back to what we know works for kids and let's get them up out of the chairs. And so I challenge you to think about technology and using technology in your classroom in support of the best practices and the best things that we know to do for educating children. So using technology for assessment, adding spice. I love Canva. That's very spicy, guys. That's very colorful and spicy. Making your delivery more interesting, incorporating student voice in your lessons, and then of course offering feedback. So at this point, I want to turn it over actually to Miss Avis, and I want to hear what kind of tips and tricks she brought with her tonight. And then I'm going to try not to interrupt you, Avis. I'm going to try, but sometimes I get excited, you know.
No worries. Thank you. So you touched on lots of different things, and my
I
mind
did.
is just going everywhere now, with some of the tools that you shared. I am going to stop your screen sharing if that's
For sure.
okay. And I was just going to share a few things related to, can you see my Google screen?
Yes.
And it's not a Google tip. It's just that's the browser that I'm
Sure,
using.
sure, sure.
So not to alienate anyone. But the tips that you gave earlier, awesome tips. There is one that kind of gives an all-in-one with the timer, being able to monitor voice levels.
Yes.
There were three things. So classroomscreen.com is one that we've used before, and there's a paid version, but the free version works absolutely fine. Of course, I'm going to sign in with Google just to get me started, but you can sign in with an email address. No problem there if you're a Microsoft district. But with classroomscreen.com, it is a tool that allows you to place widgets on your screen, and you can have all of your information in one spot. And you're able to just kind of customize with a few things. So you can change your background if you like. There's some autumn colors. If you wanted something with a little bit of animation, you can customize your background. And then you just add different widgets to your screen. And this is the free version. So nothing that we've got to pay for. But if I wanted to add a poll, I just taught a lesson to my students and I wanted to add a poll, I could put that poll up there. They can answer in multiple choice or using smileys or true false style. There's the name generator. So some of you mentioned that you like the name generator. So here is a randomizer where I can put in all of my students' names and I can have them I can have Classroom Screen create groups for me, and they're just random groups. So then I'm not worried about, well, you're playing favorites, Miss Canty Duck, and you put me in the group with, you're playing favorites. So I can put that on my screen. If there is a website that I want to use, there are several ways to share websites with our students, but here you can just put in a URL. And once you enter that URL, then it's going to, so let's put this one in, generate a QR code, and then your students can just scan the code and keep it moving instead of, okay, it's www, and then type it out. So I can already have this on my screen if I want. Here's that sound level generator, and you can go in the settings and you can change a few things as far as the spotlight. You can change the sound that it makes when it goes off. You can put in images, text on the screen, so you can use it as a whiteboard. You can draw if you need to annotate, especially for math. Work symbols. I really like the work symbols because now I can just put on my screen, here's what I expect at this moment in time. And we know in middle school, if you give them 1 second too much, it's going to be some chaos going on in that classroom. So,
True
um,
story. True
yes.
story.
Oh, I know. So I can say my expectation for right now is we work in silence, or we're going to whisper, or this is an opportunity for you to speak to your neighbor. You can do the traffic light. Here's a timer and a clock. If you go to more widgets, you can put in a calendar if you need to put up dice or embed. So an example of an embed code, let's say if we went to, let me spell it correctly, YouTube, and I put in we're having a focus activity. So I want a focus timer. And so I look through, I find a timer. Here's a good one, deep focus. I find a timer that I like and grab the embed code, copy that, come over, place that in here. And now that will be placed on my classroom screen. Lots of different things. I've got a stopwatch. I have a webcam. And this is, again, free version. Webcam can probably be used best as a document camera. So if I want to show, if I have a science lab, if I want to show something on my webcam while I'm at the board, I can do that. We have embedding videos, hyperlinks, visual timers. So that's one of those tools that is all in one, that encompassed a lot of the things that you all put in the chat as something that you found nice and handy.
Now, for your classroom screen, would you, is this something that you would like drop in the classroom or drop in the student interface, or is this for the teacher to have up on the big board in front?
This is for
Okay.
you to have on the board in the front. Now
Okay.
with the free version, you cannot save your screen.
Okay.
So when you come in the morning, you would just put all of your widgets up, have that on your active panel or your Promethean board or your smart board. And this is what you're using to control how you're delivering your content. So you have already there for you. Now you're not spending that time looking for, here's the tool I need for this, here's the tool I need for this. You can have it all on one screen, and it just gives you a little bit of efficiency while you're in your classroom.
Yeah, I love that. That is fantastic. I really love that for organizational purposes. Shanice asked, can you put like Google Slides or Canva? Like, can you embed some things right onto that interface as well?
So if you wanted to put in a link, which one is it? It is hyperlink. So you would just hyperlink whatever it is that you need to get to quickly.
Okay.
And that will be front and center as one of the widgets on your classroomscreen.com. Now, again, this is just teacher efficiency for you. To be able to get to things very quickly and easily. Whereas normally we would use like our bookmarks bar to kind of save things that we are using every day. Or some of us, we right click on the tabs in our Chrome browser and we pin the tab.
I have a lot of pins, Davis. Don't judge me. It's bad. I have a lot of them. Yeah. It's bad.
Some of us do. We use the pins. I will say I now only have one pin, and that is my one tab. Now, when let's say I'm working on a particular unit and I have 25 tabs open, I have enabled the extension one tab. And at the end of the day, I might not be finished working and I want to save it. So here's that one tab extension. When I press that one tab extension, it collapses all of those tabs and it brings it over to the one tab. So tomorrow, when I'm ready, so the other day I was working on an AI presentation. Here are all of the tabs that I use for AI. Now I can just go in and restore all, and it will bring all of my tabs back to me in one click. So now I don't have all of the pins, and I'm not picking on you, Sarah.
I'm getting this right now. You don't understand. Like, I'm downloading one tab. Whatever I have to do to get it, I'm doing it.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
So now I don't have the pins. I just have that one pin. But when I'm ready to finish, I just collapse them all. And here are all of my tabs for different projects.
Breath and you don't have to drink after work. I mean, how beautiful is that? That is just stunning. Oh my goodness. I love organization.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
And it helped me out a lot because I would just close my computer, which is not good. I would close it so I wouldn't lose my tabs.
Yes.
And my computer was not updating every day.
Yes.
So now I just use one tab and I can bring up everything that I was working on previously. And I just have that one pin.
That's beautiful.
So
That
that was
is
2
beautiful.
little tips to share.
All right.
Classroomscreen.com.
I don't know, Avis, I don't know what you're going to do to bring us better than what you just got. Because like my mind's blown. I'm done. Drop the mic. Like I'm finished. Like I'm about to close this out. Like
Yes.
these are fabulous. What else you got?
Yes. Oh, well, it just depends on how much time I have. So
Hey, go for it.
I'm gonna drop in the one tab
Okay. Cool.
link to the
Oh,
extension.
good.
So anyone that would like to check that out, that's going to be in the chat for you. The other thing that I wanted to mention with your Google tip, your YouTube tip on bringing down the noise, there is an extension called Turn Off the Lights for YouTube. And a lot of times, even though we've taken away the ads from the YouTube video, sometimes there are still relevant videos that are posted on the sites. And sometimes, depending on the audience of our students, like I taught special ed, and they would easily be distracted by there's extra noise that's on the side, even though it's not an ad. So Turn Off the Lights is an extension that will darken the screen. So it's sort of like a cinema. And now all we see is just the video.
Really cool.
So it's got a dark background back there behind it. And I believe I can find that extension for us really quickly.
Cool.
And throw that in the chat.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to shift our discussion just a little bit, if you're cool with that.
Yes.
And I want to talk about feedback. That's what I want to talk about for a minute. So feedback to our students, remember, is vital to the learning process. They have to know what they've done well and what they still need help with. And we need that information too, so that we can be responsive in our teaching. So remember, I'm going to go offline and then I'm going to go online here in a minute. So elements of effective feedback, just as a reminder, just because it's best practice, and I want to bring it up one more time because I think it bears repeating. So begin with something positive, describe what needs improvement, offer guidance on how to make the improvement, and then express confidence that the person you're talking to can be successful in your feedback. Now, this works with adults. This will work with the chick who teaches next door to you, who just needs to work on something. And this will work for your students as well. So those 4 parts of effective feedback are really, really wonderful to remember. However, time is short and we teach a lot of students in our classes. So many of us, more than 100 students we see in a day. And so you might be thinking, look, this is all great and everything, but the reality is that I don't have time to give that kind of feedback. And here's what I challenge your thinking now. Yes, you do. And technology is a great way to streamline your use of time when we're talking about giving feedback. So many of you know about Kami, and you probably use Kami to sign an important document for your kid's school or things like that, right? We use that because it keeps our signature in a private file for us. But Kami recently dropped a ton of brand new features that are super useful in the classroom. And one of my favorites, to be honest, and I've been using this a ton with teachers and students alike, is the voice note capability right inside Kami. So you have them work on an assignment. And of course, with Kami, you have a PDF interface. And so they save the item as a PDF and you open it in Kami. You're talking with the student, and instead of working out your typing skills, instead of putting in a bunch of comments that they may or may not read, instead we're adding voice notes. That introduction was stellar. And it's super easy. All you do is, if you're taking a look at this, you drop a voice note right in, and then it pops up with a voice recorder and you start talking. If you don't like it, delete it and you can start over again. Now there are several, there's more than one certainly, but there are several different services online that you can use in order to add voice notes to things for students. Mote is one of them, Mote. I really like Mote. I really like Cami though. I've been using it a lot with teachers because honestly, it doesn't take as much time for me to speak a comment and to give them a comment than as it does for me to type it out and make sure it's formatted correctly and make sure my spelling's right. And so this way I can just leave a quick voice comment. But here's the point that I wanted to make about Mote, and there are others, Voice Note, and there are several other ones that some people use to leave voice comments. Now, this is going to freak you out. We know that the students don't read our comments when we write them or we type them. We just know that that's the case. It's more reading. I'm not going to look at all that. I get tired after like the first paragraph. Like, I'm good. But we know the students, not only do they listen more than once to your audio feedback, but many times they'll save it. You know, I've never met a student who said, I want less of my teacher's time and attention. And so the voice note allows you to, by proxy, you give the vision that you're there with them, giving them one-on-one individualized feedback, but you're really not. You're safe at home and you're not hanging out with them. So I highly encourage you to challenge your thinking around feedback, because guess what? The kids will listen to your voice over and over again. And you know what? If it makes you sleepy and you're thinking about the powerful introduction and how to write a thesis statement, I'm all good. I'm all in for that option and opportunity. All right, so what is one, we're gonna go ahead and open up the chat again. Grab bag, what's one tech tool you've used that you can't live without? And Avis and I are gonna monitor that chat, and Avis, call out an amen if you see one that's really, really good, or if you think of a new one that you want to add, you're welcome to drop your ideas absolutely too. All right, so Jay Renwick says Canva. Canva. Is there, did I read something, there's something kind of new about Canva Ed that people should know? Or am I going crazy?
Canva just opened. I know you said you're not doing AI tonight, but Canva just opened the Magic Write portion. So you can just put in, I want to do a presentation about energy, or I want to talk about energy, and you tell it, I want it to be a flyer or a presentation, and it will create the presentation for you, and then you can customize it from there.
Oh, that sounds powerful. Yes,
it is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. So if there's anyone on the call tonight who is like, oh my gosh, I want to know what all the buzz is about for AI, stay tuned, because later on in this series, we're going to be doing a full evening, a whole hour on AI, all things AI, and how we can use it to streamline our life and make, you know, things more interesting and colorful and wonderful. So that's coming up. So make sure you stay tuned and sign up for our AI session. Dr. Marlowe says Google Translate. Google Translate. Beth said classroom screen. I was going to mention it if no one did. So glad you shared that with everyone. Classroom screen. I frequently use Flipgrid and Edpuzzle. That's what Shirley says. Shirley MacBell. JR says Edpuzzle. Absolutely. So Flipgrid has made a ton of changes recently to how it looks. Its interface looks different. And I wonder if, but I love Flipgrid because talk about streamlining and increasing student voice. You know, we don't have a lot of time, for example, to, or I shouldn't say that. So my son, as an example, he's in band this year. He's a 6th grader, and but his teacher, his band instructor, doesn't have time to do individual playing tests. And so they have to upload their playing tests at various intervals to this Flipgrid, and then he grades them at his leisure. And I think that is a brilliant use of Flipgrid. How great. Shirley MacBell said Flipgrid and Edpuzzle. We talked about Edpuzzle. Dr. Marlowe asked, this might be a question for Avis, what can we use now that Jamboard is going away? And why didn't anybody tell me Jamboard was going away? Because I kind of dig Jamboard.
I hadn't heard the software was going away. I know that they don't manufacture the actual board anymore. But as far as being able to go to Google and just create a Jamboard, that one's a new one. As far as we
Okay.
know, it's still on the table.
Oh, good. That's good. I'm glad that is still on the table. My
I saw
goodness, I would
today
have a
that it's
heart
being
attack.
discontinued. Google's discontinuing it. This is what I saw today.
Jamboard?
Oh,
Okay.
no.
I will check that out.
Yeah, Avis, you got to get, oh my goodness, like
I
that
gotta
is
get on it.
heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. I love me a Jamboard.
Yes.
So Avis, what do you make a recommendation? What kind of recommendation would you make to a teacher that maybe is new to the classroom, is feeling really overwhelmed, but wants to use technology because the kids are kind of fussy without it sometimes? What is the one thing you would like drive them toward? That like this is the one thing you should focus your time and effort and energy on.
I would find the one tool that they are comfortable with, that they can master. It's better to be master of one than to try 5 different tools and you're not getting anything, you're not getting anywhere but spinning wheels. So when I say the most bang for your buck, something like, I'm looking through the comments here, I see several that say like Edpuzzle, and I understand that's like for video, because our students need that constantly moving content.
Yeah.
If you like Edpuzzle and that's giving you what you need for your class, stick to it, master that before moving on to something different. I know that Edpuzzle can have a price point, so find something that is free, that does the same thing. Discovery Education has that type of capability to take a video and be able to embed questions and ask questions, and get feedback and give feedback. If pricing is an issue for you, Nearpod is free, does the same thing. Just I like the all-in-one tools versus there's one tool to do this, one tool to do something different, and one tool to do the other.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts on something like a Pear Deck or some of those vocabulary extensions to build vocabulary? You know, so many I hear from teachers all the time who say, you know, our issue is vocabulary. It's just really hard. The kids, there's a lot of vocabulary in my discipline. And I really love some of the options that are out there for vocabulary instruction. What would you make a recommendation for around vocabulary support? Maybe.
Right now, Peer Deck has Flashcard Factory,
Yeah.
and that is perfect for vocabulary because anytime we can allow the students to put their emotion and their connection with vocabulary is going to help it stick. And that is exactly what Flashcard Factory does. They have to listen to what the vocabulary word is from you, the instructor, and then they have to come up with a drawing to fit. And they're bringing in their own experiences, they're connecting with it, and they're sharing it with their peers, which is going to allow them to do a much better job because it's beyond them. And it gamifies it for them really quickly. So that's a really good one. I personally love Pear Deck because I can get the assessment piece. I can give them feedback. There's student voice activities that are included in there. There's engagement, and there's a lot of variety of different things that we can do. And again, that's a get the most bang for your buck tool to introduce to your students and not have them all over the place with lots of different tools.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Miss Shirley was asking what was the name of the app similar to Edpuzzle, and she thinks it's Discovery, but I think you were talking about Discovery Ed, right?
Discovery Ed and Nearpod both do
And
the same
Nearpod.
thing.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to talk philosophy for just a second. So there's been a lot of talk about, really working on this balance between technology and all the tools and all of the things of the moving content and all of that, and really supporting what we know about best practice in education. And sometimes frankly closing the Chromebook or closing the laptop, or putting the iPad down, and and just just trying to learn a thing, like by doing. And I wonder what your thoughts are on that, especially from where you sit now with the context and the background that you have as a special educator.
Repeat your question one more time. I was multitasking.
Oh, hey, no problem. All right. So your context, your background is special education. And I know there's a lot of talk about this idea of balancing the technology use in the classroom, and finding out where the line is between that was a really great lesson that really stimulated a ton of, engagement, and then where's the line between that and we've gone too far. I just need you to take out a piece of paper and a pencil, and I need you to be thoughtful, and I need you to write.
In the classroom, I did a lot of notebooking because my students they needed those organizational skills of being able to know that when we open a notebook, we don't skip all the pages, we go one page after the other.
Mhm.
So it was okay for me, even though I loved technology, it was okay for me to say, this lesson does not need technology. A lot of times, because of the nature of my class, I knew how my students learned, or I knew how they needed to be introduced to content. That was us. And I might have used technology to show it to them. But when I needed them to hear me, we had certain words. So it was, walk up rule where I could just go and see their laptops, or it was clamshell. So they knew we're closing our laptops, and we turned, back then it was laptops, and we turned them away so that I'm not worried about you opening. A lot of times when it came to differentiation, that's where I brought in my technology, because then I could use lots of different tools to reach different groups of students. And it was easier for me to go around at that point, or to monitor even at that point, different groups using different technology, and I would position my seats in such a way that I could see everyone at once.
Mm.
So I hope
Absolutely.
that
And yeah,
answered your question.
no, that does answer my question. And I think it's interesting that you bring up sort of this, like, everything has to work in harmony in a classroom. So you have to have the technology at just the right dose. And then you have to have enough hands-on, just the right dose, and enough of classroom management and classroom culture and community in just the right dose. And all those things kind of they work in harmony with one another so that the students are getting sort of this well-rounded view. I wonder, Avis, what your thoughts are. There's been a lot of talk about, like, flipped classroom used to be the thing. Like, everybody wanted to have a flipped classroom. And so, like, we wanted to be sure that we sent home all these video links and all this stuff with kids. But I wonder, like, where are we on that trajectory of, like, how cool is that anymore? Are people doing that anymore?
It's still a very efficient way to teach. It just depends on what it is that you're sending home with your students. I would be very intentional in the content that I'm sending home. I would make sure that it is strictly aligned to the standards, so that when they are home, we haven't given them fluff. We are giving them exactly what it is that we want them to know before they come back in our classroom, and we have an authentic working environment, based only on your standards. So it should not be considered, I just need to give them lots of different videos to watch or links to read through. I know, like, using my own example in my house, my daughter's ADD, and if she gets a big long list of here are all the resources that are possible, that doesn't work for her because she gets overwhelmed. Her teacher has to say she needs to read these 3 pieces of text in order to be best prepared for our work together when we come to class tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But now before we hit the road tonight, y'all, I want to talk about social media for just a second. I feel really strongly that our kids need to wait. And I think social media should be severely limited. I don't think that they understand the implications of their actions. And I would love for us to be champions of that idea. So I think it is very important to encourage our students to wait. I don't think they need social media. I'm very leery about the kids right now are all over Instagram. I know they are because they're liking the pictures I'm posting from the school because their mamas and daddies are on Instagram too. And it makes me very nervous because there's just unlimited access out there in the world. And so that's just my, the more you know. But I just feel really strongly about it. And I wonder what everyone else thinks about that topic. Because I know there are some teachers who, if given the option, they teach a whole school year with TikTok and that would be it. And I just can't get my heart in that place to do that. What do you all think about that of kids and social media and all of that good stuff? TV, Chesney says, yes, absolutely. Sarah says, so many disruptions from social media. As counselors, we see it every day. Ava says she agrees. Avis, you agree. Social media should be very limited for sure. We talk a lot, especially at the middle level, about what's developmentally appropriate. And guess what? These are children walking around in our hallways. And we have to be really thoughtful about what it is that is truly developmentally appropriate for the kiddos and what they need. Like we have to figure out what it is that they need. And Avis, I love the idea of, you were talking earlier about like that you prefer a tool that is a multi-tool instead of I have one place I go for this and one place I do this and one place for this. I feel like sometimes that makes the delivery in the classroom kind of herky jerky. Like the kids don't know what you're going to do next. And so if they can't anticipate your next move, then they can't learn as effectively. They have to be able to anticipate what you are doing, what you're going to be doing next. Shirley says, are you referring to social media in the classroom? I actually am. When schools get in, sometimes they get a little over their skis because they want to show off, because we want to control the narrative. And so we constantly want to show all the things we're doing all the time. And social media is a beast that'll never be full. It is an unfed beast. It is consistently seeking new content. And so yeah, I'm referring to social media in the classroom. Yeah, Jay Renwick says, no, they don't do any social media in the classroom at all. That's really good. Definitely monitor closely if it's allowed, Beth. Good. Yeah, so I don't know. Avis, I just feel strongly about that. I have children living in my home. Obviously, I have my own kiddos, and I worry about them. What is the in your estimation, what is a cool thing on the horizon though in technology that's hopeful that you're like, that's going to be really cool when this thing drops?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that mainly when I'm looking at technology, I'm looking at it through the lens of teacher efficiency and being able to help you have a more productive day. And if it happens to benefit the students, then yes, we'll create lessons to help with that as well. We have several, sessions that are geared towards some of the favorites you all have said today, Kami, Pear Deck, Canva is coming out with Canva EDU for students soon. I think that will be a very powerful tool because that's going to be something that's going to give them student voice and allow us within the parameters of the classroom to be able to teach the appropriate use of using that type of tool. So I could go on and
Yeah.
on. I'm the
No,
learner in the
I'm
group.
sure. Well, no, I mean, I totally hear you. Let's go ahead and open up the chat. And anybody have any questions for Avis? You got her now. I mean, you've got her. She's here with us for the hour. So, any questions you have that are like, tech related that you wanted to pose, we'll be happy to address them. And then we're it's almost time, guys. It's almost time for you to go back to Netflix because sometimes you have to binge watch the world's harshest prisons. And that's really an interesting one, by the way. If you haven't caught those episodes, it's really, really crazy cool. But you have to pay attention because most of them are not in English. And so you have to really watch. You can't just have it on in the background unless you speak like 17 languages, and then you're good to go. All right, so questions or final thoughts even in the chat. Questions or final thoughts, things you're thinking about.
While they are popping questions in the
Yes.
chat, I did find an answer. So Dr. Marlowe, yes, I see that Jamboard is leaving and they're starting the phase out in October 2024. Two tools that you can use and start researching. This one has been on the scene for a while. It's called whiteboard.fi. So if you've ever checked that one out, that is a whiteboarding tool that your students can respond, and you'll see all of the whiteboards and you're able to give them feedback. The other one is in Canva. There is a new whiteboarding tool that can be used as a brainstorming option. So any slide that you're using in a presentation in Canva can be a whiteboard, and you can invite others to just do a brain dump or just add things, and it's an infinite canvas, so it will stretch in either direction to infinity. So those are two options there. And I see our Nearpod and Discovery Education free. Nearpod has a free version, and it also has a couple of paid versions. The free version is just fine. It just limits your how much you can put in there, how much storage you have. Discovery Education, it's free for Greenville County School District, and I assumed that it was free for everyone in South Carolina, but you would have to check with your individual school district. But Discovery Ed has a plethora of resources that are phenomenal to be able to use for anything.
Sweet. All right, I am in the process right now of dropping into the chat the link for tonight's Google form. So remember that these sessions count for either if your school district does exchange day credits, it'll count for those. It'll also count for recertification credits in any school district across the state. So what happens there is you complete the form to receive your certificate, and when you give us a little bit of feedback, I hit you up with a certificate, and the certificate will give you 1 hour of professional development credit that will be accepted by your school district. So be sure to complete tonight's form to receive your certificate. And I want to leave you with this one final thought. We have changed the format of these sessions, and technology is a gift. But guess what? Collaboration and being together is a greater gift than that. And if technology can help us to do that in order to share ideas and to be hopeful about the future, about future even that we don't yet know about, I'm all about that. So please don't be a stranger. My contact information is up there. Don't be a stranger. Drop me an email. Let me know. Shirley, just for example, says she didn't receive her certificate for last week's session. You should have, girl. Drop me an email and I'll take care of that super quick. I appreciate all of your time tonight and your engagement. What a fantastic group tonight. So again, I want to thank SCAMLE for their sponsorship of these Thursday night sessions. They are through their sponsorship, they make these sessions possible. And I also want you to make sure that you visit www.scamle.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and the Gram. Have a great night, guys, and I hope to see you next week. Be sure to sign up for next week.